Good morning, grade 7. How are you today? So, again, this is Teacher Mitch, your English teacher. And today, we're going to have our new lesson. Are you ready? So, before we start, let's going to have a very short game. So, all you have to do is find the subject, the verb, and the receiver. So, let's start. Okay, so I have here two sentences and we're going to find out what is the subject, the verb, and the receiver. So first, my little brother made dinner. So what is our subject? Little brother. And our verb is made. And dinner is our object. So you will be asking yourself, who made dinner? So little brother, which is the subject. What did little brother make? Dinner. Okay, so it is an object or a receiver. Next, we have dinner was made by my little brother. So your subject here will be dinner, and our verb is was made. And of course, little brother is the receiver of the action. Okay, so let's analyze these two sentences. So in sentence number 1, little brother, okay, is the subject. He is the doer of the action. And in sentence number 2, it became the object. Okay? And the dinner, which is the object in sentence number 1, became the subject in sentence number 2. But dinner is not the doer of the action. So in sentence number 1, if you have noticed, little brother is the one performing the action. While in sentence number 2, dinner, which is the subject, is not the one performing the action. It is still the little brother. You got it? Okay, so this morning we're going to find out what do you call these two sentences and what are the differences between these two. Are you ready? All right. So class, those two sentences that we have discussed is active and passive voice. So let's find out what is active and passive voice. Active voice, this is the voice that we use most of the time. And in active voice, it means that a sentence has a subject that acts upon his verb. Okay, so we have here the subject is the doer of the action and the object is the receiver. Okay, so that is active voice. All right. Okay, so in active voice, sentences have strong, direct, and clear tone. So when we want to say that the subject of the sentence is doing the action, it is the active voice of the verb. So who does the action? It's the subject. Who receives the action? It's the object. So that is active voice. So let's have some example. All right, so a man is cutting down a tree. So who does the action? A man, right? So a man is a subject. What is our verb? Cutting down, okay? And our receiver is tree. Therefore, a man is cutting down a tree is an example of active voice because the subject is the doer of the action. Okay. Now we have the format of active and passive voice. So let's first discuss in active voice. The format is first the doer of the action or the subject, then the verb plus the receiver of the action or object. So let's have some example. Baldo drives the cart. Okay? So who is the doer of the action? It is Baldo, which is the subject, right? And what is the verb or the action? Drives. And what is the receiver of the action or the object? the cart. Okay, so Baldo drives the cart is an example of active voice. So subject or doer of the action plus verb plus the receiver of the action. Okay. Okay, so more examples. Monkeys adore bananas. Okay, so our subject or the doer of the verb is monkeys. Okay, who adore bananas? Monkeys, the subject. All right, so our verb is adore. And our object or receiver of the verb bananas. Okay, what did monkeys adore? Bananas. All right, next we have example number 2. The cashier counted the money. So, subject is cashier and our verb is counted. And of course, our object is money. So, who counted the money? It's the subject, which is the cashier. Okay? And, okay, what is the verb? Counted. So, what did the cashier do with the money? Count. All right. And what did the cashier count? Money. That is receiver or the object. Next, we have the dog chased the squirrel. So who chased the squirrel? That is dog. What did the dog do? That is chased or that is our verb. And what did the dog chase? Squirrel, which is the object. So again, dog is the subject, chase is the verb, and squirrel is the receiver or the object of the sentence. All right, let's have the passive voice. So passive voice, it is where the subject becomes the object or the receiver of the action. Okay, so unlike in passive and active rather, so unlike in active verb or in active voice, the subject is the doer of the action, the one who is performing the action. Here in passive voice, the subject receives the action of the verb. Now let's have some examples for you to understand. Okay, so passive voice. So when we want to say that the subject of a sentence is not doing anything, but allowing something to be done by somebody else, we use the passive voice form. Okay, so again, when you want to say, so passive voice, it is where the subject is not doing anything. So it is not the one performing the action. It is not the doer of the action, but it allows the action to be done. It's in passive form. So let's have some example. A tree is being cut down by a man. So here our subject is tree. Okay? Our verb is being cut down. And man is the receiver or the object. Okay, let's analyze this. A tree, which is the subject, is not the one performing the task or performing the action, right? The tree is not the one cutting a man. Okay, you got it? A tree is only a receiver of an action being cut down. And the doer of the action is still the man. All right? Okay. You may feel confused now, but I will give you a lot of examples for you to understand. All right? So don't worry. So passive voice, let's have the format. So first is the receiver of the action or the object plus the be verb. So when we say the be verb, it is the is and are if it is present, the was and the were if it is past tense. Then the past participle. So past participle, it is the V3 of the verb. So like for example, if your verb is give, so give, gave, given. So given is the past participle or the V3. All right? And followed by and followed by the doer of the action. So we have an example here. The car is driven by Baldo. Okay? So the receiver of the action is the cart, which is the subject. All right? And our verb is driven. So is because cart is singular and driven is the past participle of the verb drive. And of course, Baldo is the doer of the action. Okay? All right. Now let's have a lot of examples. So first, bananas are adored by monkeys. So let me ask you, is banana here the doer of the action? Are bananas adored the monkeys? Of course it's not. It's the other way around. So again, in passive voice, the subject is not the doer of the action. Instead, the object is the doer. So it's the monkey who steal, or it's the monkey rather who adored the bananas, and not the bananas or the other way around. So subject here, bananas. And our verb are adored. And the object are monkeys, which is the doer of the action. So you cannot say that bananas adored monkeys. So that is wrong because it's the monkey who adored bananas. Okay, next. The squirrel was chased by the dog. So our subject is squirrel, but it is not the one chasing the dog. It's the other way around. So it's the dog who chased the squirrel. All right. So our verb is was chased. And the doer or the one performing the action is the dog, not the squirrel. Okay. So sentence number 3. The money was counted by the cashier. Okay. So our subject is money. And our verb is was counted, and the doer of the or the object is the cashier. Okay, so it's not the money who are or who is performing the action. So the money counting the cashier, so it's a big no, or it's a wrong. Okay, so it's the money was counted by the cashier, and the money here, which is the subject, is not doing anything. Okay. Okay, now let's try to change active into passive form and passive into active. Okay, and vice versa. So first we have example number 1. The boy is carrying the girl. So the boy is the subject and is carrying is our verb and the object is girl. So in sentence number 1, the boy, which is the subject, is the doer of the action, the one who performs the action. Therefore, this sentence is active. Okay? So let's have sentence number 2. The girl is being carried by the boy. So the girl here is our subject, but it is not the one doing the action. Therefore, our subject or therefore this sentence is in passive form. Okay. Now let's have another example. So John reads a book every day. So when we transfer it or when we change it into passive, it will become a book is read every day by John. Or you can put the every day at the end. So a book is read by John every day. Okay, so John here in sentence number 1 is the one performing the action. Therefore, it is active form. In sentence number 2, the book or a book is read every day by John. So book is our subject, but it is not the one doing the action. Therefore, this sentence number 2 is an example of passive voice. Okay. Okay, so example number 3, he cooks food. Okay, so subject he, cooks is our verb, and food our object. All right, so when we make it as a passive, or when we change it into passive, it will become food is cooked by him. By the way, when you change or are changing active to passive form, passive to active, it is very important that you recognize your verb if it is singular, plural, present tense, past tense, perfect, or progressive, because in changing active to passive or passive to active, verb plays a very crucial role. Okay, so and also you have to apply your subject verb agreement. We're going to discuss that later. Okay, so here, when the subject of a sentence is singular, the verb must also be singular, of course. And that is why we use is cooked. So is cooked is present tense because cooks. Okay, so cooks is in present tense and food is singular. That's why we use is cooked. And cooked with ed is the past participle of the verb cook. By the way, cook is regular verb. That's why it is added by ed. So regular verb, it form their past tense or simple past and past participle by adding d or ed with the verb. Unlike with irregular verb, like for example, the eat, so the past tense and the past participle change its spelling. So give, gave, given. Make, made, made. What else? Um, write, wrote, written. So those are examples of irregular verbs, and they form their simple past and past participle. It changed their spelling. Okay, all right. Next, we have this rule. So when the subject of a sentence is plural, of course, the verb of the sentence should be plural also. So example, he carried some books. So some books is our object. So when we make it as a passive, so some books were carried by him. Okay, so question, why we use were, not are? They are same plural. Okay, so go back to your active. Your active verb is carried. So carried is in the past form, right? Or simple past. That's why you have to use were and not are. Okay, and carried is the past participle of carry. So always remember, in passive, the verb is always in the past form. Sorry, that is past participle, not simple past. Past participle. So be verb plus the past participle of the verb. Okay. I have prepared here a lot of examples of changing active to passive form for you to understand well the passive and active voice. Alright, so let's start. Okay, so Harry ate 6 shrimp at dinner. So we change it into passive. It will become, at dinner 6 shrimps were eaten by Harry. So here in active voice, Harry is the subject, ate is our verb, and 6 shrimp is our object. So when we change it into passive, 6 shrimps will become our subject, where eaten is our verb, and Harry is now the object or the doer of the action. You can also interchange it. You can say 6 shrimps were eaten by Harry at dinner. Okay? So the important is the subject, the verb, and the object. Right? So in sentence number 2, Sue changed the flat tire. So Sue is the subject, change is our verb, and flat tire is our object. By the way, it is all in the past. Okay, so for number 1, ate became were eaten. So you will be asking, why were eaten? Harry is the subject, right? So we have to use is. No. So we have to follow 6 shrimps. So in in passive, 6 shrimps now is our subject. Therefore, we have to use were eaten. And why were, not are? Okay, so go back to your active verb. So your active verb is ate. Therefore, you have to use were. Okay, and eaten is the past participle of eat. So at dinner, 6 shrimps were eaten by Harry. Okay, so number 2, so Zoo changed the flat tire. So let's make it a passive. The flat tire was changed by Zoo. Okay, the subject now is flat tire. That's why we use was changed, because flat tire is singular and change with ed is, with d rather, is past form, so therefore we use was changed. Again, the verb is was changed. And the doer of the or the object is Sue. Okay, next. Mom read the novel in one day. So here the read, or yeah, it's read, the past form. By the way, class, the word read has no past tense and past participle. So it doesn't change. It is still read, only the pronunciation. So read, read, read. Okay? So mom read the novel in one day. So our verb is read, not to read, because it is in the past form. And novel is our object. So the novel was read by mom in one day. Okay? So that is changing past or simple past to passive. We are changing active to passive, but in the past tense. So simple past. Ate, were eaten, change, was changed, read, was read. All right, so that is simple. Let's have some more examples. So active and passive. So number 1, the choir really enjoys that piece. So that piece is really enjoyed by the choir. Next. Oh, by the way, for number 1, the verb is enjoys. So the subject is choir. So therefore, enjoys is present tense. So we use is enjoyed. Okay, so is present tense, in enjoyed is past participle of the verb enjoyed. Next, number 2, the cleaning crew vacuums and dusts the office every night. So what is the object? Office. So the office is vacuumed and dusted by the cleaning crew every night. So your verb is vacuums and dust. So both with S, so they are in the present tense. So therefore, we have to use is. Is vacuumed and dusted. All right. Next, Susan will bake 2 dozen cupcakes for the bake sale. So subject, Susan. And our verb is will bake, that is simple future. And our receiver or the object is cupcakes or dozen cupcakes, 2 dozen cupcakes. So in passive, it will become 2 dozen of cupcakes will be baked by Susan for the bake sale. So again, our verb will bake became will be baked. Just put be because it is simple future. Okay. So let's have another set of examples. So simple present. So in simple present, when we change it into passive form, you just recognize your verb, your subject. So when your subject is singular, you have to use is plus past participle. When your subject is plural, you have to use are. Okay, and the plus a past participle. So that is simple present. In simple past, you have to use was if your subject is singular, and add the past participle of the verb. And when your subject is plural, just use were plus past participle. And in future, so we're using the will, okay, or shall, or going to be, that is simple future. So will plus be plus the past participle of the verb. So let's have some example in simple present. Once a week, Chris drives the car. So in passive, once a week, the car is driven by Chris. Okay, so is because the car is singular and driven is the past form of drive. Next, the simple past. Ralph repaired. So your verb is repaired, simple past. So bicycle was repaired. Okay, so was repaired is the passive form of repaired. Next, simple future. Rona will help Gemma at 5 o'clock or 5 p.m. And passive will help will become will be helped. Okay, so Gemma will be helped by Rona at 5 p.m. So again, you have to recognize your verb and you have to apply your subject-verb agreement. Okay. Now let's have the progressive tense of the verb. So present continuous or the present progressive form of the verb, it formed by adding the ing. So like for example, write, writing, close, closing. So that is progressive or continuous. Okay, so present continuous, so is writing, you have to make it, or you have to put being, is being, then followed by the past participle of the verb written. Okay, so present continuous, like for example, Sharon is writing the memo. And passive, the memo is being written by Sharon. Okay, so you just add being. So is because it is present and memo is singular. You just put being to indicate the passive form, then followed by the past participle of the verb. Alright, so let's go to past progressive or past continuous. I was closing the shop when the thief came in. So our verb is was closing. So in passive, the shop was being closed by me when the thief came in. So if you have noticed, so was, then you put being, then you put past participle. So same with the present tense, just change the verb is and are for for present, was and were for past, and for the future, the will be. Okay, in the past participle. So future continuous or future progressive. At 8 p.m. tonight, Lee will be visiting you. So will be visiting you. In passive, it will become will be visited. Okay, again, at 8 p.m. tonight, you will be visited by Lee. Okay, so you have to recognize your verb always for you to decide what verb is being or what verb you're going to use in changing active to passive form. So I think this is the last. So tense is used to. So Marvin used to settle the bills. So used to settle will become used to be settled. And would bake will become would be baked. And future in the past, so would complete will become would be completed. All right. Okay, so we're done with passive or with active and passive voice. If you have questions, so reserve it during our live discussion. And for your ILT, please read your book page 214 and 217. Okay, that's all for today, grade 7. Bye bye everyone. See you on our live discussion. Have a nice day.